All right, let's talk about IPMAT coaching. Seriously, trying to pick one can feel like you're just lost, right? There are so many options, and every single one of them claims to be the best. So, how on earth do you actually choose? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and get to some real, honest answers. Feeling totally overwhelmed by it all? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. But imagine this. What if you had a guide, someone who's literally been in your shoes and has already figured it all out? That's what we're going to do. We're breaking this whole thing down based on the real-world experience of a student named Aman Rajput, who went through this exact same journey. So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with a general guide, then dive into the absolute best coaching tier. We'll look at some other notable options, tackle that classic online versus offline debate, and then have a final showdown. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for the last part, the 90-10 success rule. It's a game changer. Okay, let's get right into it with Aman Rajput's insights. So, what makes his take so valuable, you ask? Well, it's simple. This isn't some glossy marketing brochure. This is the real, unfiltered experience of a student who has been exactly where you are right now. No fluff. So, you might be wondering, how did Aman even begin to make sense of this whole mess? He did something pretty smart. He started by breaking the entire coaching market down into 3 main tiers. It's a really simple but effective way to cut through the chaos and actually see where each institute fits. All right, let's start with the top dogs, the A-listers. These are the institutes that IMN calls the absolute best tier, specifically for IPM Mat Prep. You know, the ones whose whole mission is to get you into that dream IIM. So, who actually made it into this top tier? According to Aman, there are 4 main players you need to know about: ACE IPM, Supergrads, IPM Careers, and percentile classes. In his experience, these are the places that are really delivering the highest quality, most focused education for IPMAT. But wait, Aman doesn't just give us a list, he actually ranks them, and he puts ACE IPM right at number 1. Why? He points to their incredible results. Plus, it's fully online, and this is key, it's the one he personally chose when he was a dropper. So he's not just talking about it, he's lived it. Okay, next on his list is Supergrads. Now, Aman said he was seriously impressed with their teaching style, especially from what he saw on their YouTube channel. A huge plus for them is that they offer both online and offline classes. The only catch? Yeah, it's a bit pricier than ACE IPM. So to round out that top tier, we've got IPM Careers and percentile classes. But Aman gives a little heads up on these two. For IPM Careers, he mentions there just isn't a lot of content out there to check out beforehand. And as for percentile classes, well, the online reviews are all over the place. Seems like you either love it or you don't. Okay, so what about all those other names you've probably seen floating around? Beyond the top-tier IPMAT specialists, Aman has another category for institutes that cater to, different needs and definitely different budgets. So here's a quick look at how the rest of the landscape shapes up. First, you've got the newer, more budget-friendly options like IPMAT Walla. Aman thinks these are a pretty good starting point for 11th graders. Then you have the absolute giants of CAT Prep. Think Time, IMS. They're amazing offline, but maybe not as famous for their online IPMAT courses. And finally, you've got places that are hyper-focused on CUET, like EduCaptain. Great for that exam for sure, but probably not the first choice if IIM Indoor is your main goal. Okay, let's talk about the big one. This is a huge decision for every single student out there. Do you go online or do you go to an offline, in-person class? Let's really dig into what Aman thinks about this. Now, here's what's really interesting. Aman actually makes a super strong case for offline coaching, if you can get to a good one. He talks about that competitive vibe and atmosphere that you just can't replicate online. But, and this is a big but, he also points out that ACE IBM, which is only online, gets some of the absolute best results. So what's the takeaway? It's that top-level success is clearly possible no matter which path you choose. So, after looking at all these different tiers and options, Aman's entire analysis really comes down to 2 main contenders. It's time for the final showdown, the best of the best. And here they are. It all comes down to these 2, ACE IPM versus Supergrads. According to Aman, if you are laser-focused on getting into the top IIMs, your choice is probably going to be between one of these 2. Okay, so when you put them side by side, what do we see? Well, Aman rates both of them as excellent, so quality isn't the issue. The big difference, of course, is the mode. AC IPM is all online, Supergrads is hybrid. But for a lot of students, the decision is going to come down to one last, really important factor. And yep, that factor is price. Amin is super clear on this. Supergrads is quite a bit more expensive. So, if your budget's a major part of this decision, ACE IPM really stands out as the more affordable choice between the two heavy hitters. For a lot of people, that's going to be the tiebreaker right there. Okay, before we wrap this up, Amin shares something that might just be the most important piece of advice in this entire breakdown. It's a rule that completely shifts the focus away from the coaching center and puts it squarely back on you. He calls it the 90-10 rule, and it's such a powerful concept. Think about it. The coaching you choose, the one we've spent all this time talking about, that's only 10% of your success. The other 90%? Well, that's all on you. It's your effort, your consistency, your grind. And here's the raw truth behind that 90%. Amin says the two things that will make or break your success are consistency and revision. He's convinced that this is the exact point where most students, even really smart ones, end up failing. So, as we finish up here, the real takeaway isn't just a list of coaching centers. It's a challenge, really. The most important question isn't which coaching to join, it's how are you going to put in the work? How are you going to show up every single day and do the hard stuff that actually gets you there? That's the real question.